Hello, amazing female entrepreneurs. I am Sabine Matharo. I am a business startup and growth strategist. And today we are actually celebrating our 2-year anniversary of our book, Rise in Pursuit of Empowerment. And with me, I have a few of the co-authors because I thought, you know what, right now, I think we're in a pretty in a difficult situation, in an uncertain situation with everything that's been going on over the last 12 months. I think women in particular, have been picking up a lot of things, especially, if you're homeschooling and if you're a mom, there's additional things you've been probably juggling. And we come together today just to really bring some inspiration. And we have a gift. Of course, you have, you'll get the link where you can download the book, not only Rise, but also I have a second book called Joy, Recipes for Abundance. And I think the combination is just the best thing when you are, really needing that inspiration and wanting to hear, how other women have actually dealt with some difficult situations. And really, just a bit about the book itself. I mean, the books came about because I had an inspiration that I wanted to go out and share other women's stories. I mean, it literally came out overnight. I woke up one morning and I had this vision. Like, it was really clear to me as to what the books will be like, or at least a book. I thought it was going to be 100 stories in one book, but obviously that would have been quite a big book. And of course, I'm still writing 100 stories, but it'll just be dissected into different books and different themes. So we started off with the Rise, and it's about rising and reaching for the stars. It's all about the stars. Then the Joy book, it's about celebrating and bringing in some recipes for abundance and how to live, really with joy. And the third book now, I'm just producing right now, talking about Shift. A new era begins. So this is about collecting stories from the pandemic and really showcasing some leadership, some resilience, some heroes, and really capturing some history. So if you're listening and you're thinking, hang on, I do have a story, do contact me, okay? So before I open up, I'm just gonna go and let you know where the link is if you're interested to grab the books. And, all of these amazing women that I have with me today, which is Sharon, Naomi, Nadine, Susanne, and Gloria, they are in the book, and they have also provided some bonuses because we really wanted to create a space where you can relax, where you can meditate, where you can find inspiration. So when you go to let me go and grab the book link. When you go to riseandjoy.gra.com, you will actually be able to grab both of your books and grab the bonuses absolutely for free. If you'd like to obviously go on Amazon, there's a link to Amazon, and I love just the feel of books and having them in my shelf as well, because the books itself are really colorful. So, this is not a black and white book. We have many pictures. Everyone's telling their stories, and each of them actually left a little quote as well to inspire. So lots and lots of amazing. There she is, Nadine. We're going to actually start with you, Nadine, and you can tell us all about your story, and obviously any other wisdoms that you have collected since we've been in the book, because obviously all of us has had some additional experiences. So huge welcome, Nadine. Nice to have you. And just to introduce you, Nadine is a coach and obviously also an author and a public speaker. And her website is Just Me, and is it still the same website? Just make sure it is. So it's, I can't read, it's so small. Just me on live.com. So good to see you.
Thank you so much, Sabine. Yeah, it's still the same website. I think just to say thank you for bringing us all together again to celebrate World Book Day. And as you say, the feel of the books is so different. Even the font and the images, it all kind of jumps out on the page at you. So it's really nice to have. I want to start with a quote from mine just to kind of set what that story was about and really the lesson from it, because I think the lesson is the best thing that we can do out of all of these difficult situations that we're in. And it is, you will have the right to reclaim what has been muted, oppressed, or ignored by others and by yourself. Never deny the power of your voice. The world needs to hear what you have to say. So I think that real element of people being able to find their voice, being able to speak up for themselves, set boundaries, really tell their truth and tell their story is the most important thing that we can take from adversity. And for me, the story particularly that was in the book was around finding forgiveness for myself, finding forgiveness for other people who had really impacted on my family in a negative way, going through extreme racism, going through violence, going through losing our home. There's so many things that, you know, you could see as real traumas and that could keep you stuck for a lifetime. But I wanted to make sure that out of that, there was some light in there. There was some way of saying, actually, you can move past these things. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to stay a victim, and you don't have to feel oppressed throughout all the other situations that come up in life. And I think it's really important, as you say, now we're in this time of a global pandemic. It seems to be going on and on and on, where we thought it may only last for a few months, and it's going into years, and the impact of that will go on a lot longer. And the burden that women in particular bear is so great. It's not just running the home. It's not just trying to figure out their place in a world that isn't really set up to make them thrive. And then it's all the extra burdens of juggling homeschooling and work and figuring out whether they want to run a business and they want to do X, Y, and Z, and thinking about how we do that when we've got all of these other pressures that are coming from government and from the world. And I think the emotional burden's really, really big. From, you know, my own life and from so many people I speak to, there's not anybody that's not suffering. There's not anybody that's not had multiple bereavements like I have, or people that have lost jobs, or people that are just in really uncertain situations. And all of that collective worry kind of comes together and can be quite heavy. So I think having forgiveness for ourselves on days where we can't do anything, when we just feel like we need a bit of self-care, when we need to step back, when we need to clear our appointments, or when we have missed our own deadlines and goals for some, we can always reset them. We can always kind of get back to a place where we can refocus and energize ourselves. But without looking after ourselves when we need to, we'll just end up burning out. And that's not good for us. That's not good, obviously, for the people in our lives. And it's not good for all of these goals and dreams that we all have, because we can't pursue them when, you know, we're trying to do it from an empty place or a place filled with stress and burden. It does not work. So I think, you know, in recognition of today, World Book Day, and I love books, I love audio books, I love physical books, like all types, you know, get the things that motivate you, get the things that pick you up, get the funny ones. I like reading things that just make me laugh, or listening to something in the car that I would just be like, oh, I'm giggling at the traffic light by myself. But at least it's that it gets you into that different mode. And books like Rise, with those collections of stories where you can hear lots of different ways of other people that have been through things and come out the other end and found something positive. It gives you those moments of inspiration. And then we've got International Women's Day coming up, so that's on Monday. And of course, it's Mother's Day this side of the world anyway, this month. So lots and lots of reasons to celebrate the women in your life, lots of reasons to celebrate yourself, and to just really pick up and think, what can I do? Even if I'm not at my best, even if I'm feeling really low, even if there's lots of things I need to deal with, what can I do today to feel better, and what can I do to take some action? And I think that's the lesson that I really like to teach my friends, my clients, anyone in my life, because as long as we're moving, as long as we're in some flow of action, then we're going to feel good because we're doing it. But when we just sit and think and let things kind of overwhelm us and we don't do anything, then it all feels really impossible. So I think, the biggest thing I would like to pass on, even especially, you know, over the way that things have been going over the last year, and the kind of difficulties that everybody's experiencing, is just do what you can for that day and do your best. And I think that's the absolute way to celebrate and look after yourself, the way that I see it anyway.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Nadine. It's been, I'm glad that you're saying that everybody has been actually affected, and we shouldn't actually, put ourselves down because we haven't achieved maybe the goals and we're not quite as productive as we would usually be. And it's about allowing that, I think, as well, and being aware of that. And this is where we're kind of, it makes my heart sing, because this is exactly what you guys are actually sharing in the Rise book. About, you know, your challenges. Obviously, these were challenges that you had already before the pandemic, but you already have been through those challenges. You made it through those challenges, and you already have those some tools available to you that you're now sharing in the book. So that is fantastic. And by the way, also in the bonus, I recall we also had some audio recording. So we don't have an audio book on Audible as such. However, I think it was very, very authentic that the way all of you actually did the recording of your own story, and that's now part of the bonus. So if you go to the website that I'm going to just put it in on the bottom, you can download all of that, both of my books, Rise and Joy, as well as all the bonuses, including the audio version of it as well. So thank you, Nadine. Let's go and speak to our second guest, which is Sharon Swenson. And Sharon, you're unmuted. Yeah, you're good to go.
Oh, okay. Well, since we last visited about our Rise book, I shared it with a couple of my book groups, and they're all women. And what really stood out to me was this one woman's comment. She said she kept our book by the side of her bed, and every night she would read a story. And when she woke up in the morning, she felt so inspired. And that's what I love about the book, that it really directs you to that place of appreciation and optimism. That just like Nadine was sharing, that we need to really focus on those beautiful things that we can appreciate. And in my story, I talk about all these conditions I had in my life, and it's like it just sunk me into this depression that I couldn't get out of, or so it felt. And the same thing I think is happening to a lot of people now, is there's so many things outside of our control. So back then it's like, well, there was a serial killer in our neighborhood. My daughter had health issues. We had real financial fears. And so I had a lot of real reasons to feel scared, to be depressed. And the same thing with the pandemic, that the power really is in how we direct it, and our perspective and our thoughts. And I know for me, we had a family member who contracted COVID-19 and died. My husband lost his job. He's got this health condition that they don't have an answer for yet. But I still feel joyful and happy, and that's just so freeing. So even though I go to those places of anxiety and fear and worry, I keep redirecting and looking for the blessings. And that's what I love about this book, and so many other beautiful books out there. And like Nadine was saying, look for those things that keep you inspired and uplift you. And I know I have to revisit inspiring things again and again and again. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It just means that you need to keep redirecting. The very heart of my story is, don't be the victim. Don't have that victim mentality. Say yes to just even the littlest thing. Like, could you appreciate a cup of coffee? Could you appreciate that you have a place to live right now? Even if that's not something, you don't know if you're going to be able to hold on to it. To be able to really focus in on the now, the present, and find whatever blessings that we can be such a life changer. So I feel like my clients, even though they're all going through this pandemic and having anxieties and fears, they've been able to still have as their dominant experience joy. I remember answering the phone one time with my daughter saying, "Happy pandemic." And she's like, "Mom," she just was horrified. She is a therapist and works with some people that are really on the margin. But who needs the joy more than somebody on the margin? That we really do want to go to that place of centeredness and joy and do the best that we can. And I know for myself, if I start to get, it's like I feel the weight of all the suffering and humanity, I can't move, I can't think. So I have to redirect to that joy again and again and again. And then I feel inspired, and then I can support other people. that I can be of service and helpful. So to just, it's like, yeah, seek out those things like books like Rise, meditation, all those beautiful things that can be available if you have internet for free on YouTube, and keep that spirit uplifted. So that's all I have to say.
So much. I'm so sorry to hear, what's been going on in your life, and it is so refreshing, to see your spirit and your energy, and that you are keep on going, and that you're actually inspiring others. And you're so right. It's like we should be grateful for actually what we actually have, because so many people may not have a roof over their heads, may not have any food, and yet we are always thinking of, oh, we want more or something better, or it's not working, and so on and so on. So I think it's about really stepping back and thinking, actually, we do.
And it can be the opportunities instead. So for instance, my mother-in-law dying from COVID, I can't change that. But what I can do, though, is I can focus on those beautiful memories. I can see the positive changes, like my husband becoming closer to his sister because of this event. So that if we there's always something that we can find that can redirect us to that beautiful place, so that those challenges can become those opportunities and that beautiful growth and evolution. So you should be saying, "Oh,
Absolutely.
I'm so happy for you, Sharon. You've had such wonderful opportunities to evolve and grow." Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, I personally believe that there's always a reason why things are happening, and we will probably not know straight away why that was. But at some point, somewhere down the line, we will understand and we will see the teachings. But if we can just know the universe will never give you anything that you can't handle, and things are meant to happen in this way, then I think we can live in much more peaceful. Cool. So thank you so much, Sharon. I will move on to Gloria. How is Gloria today? So Annette, before we move over, I just want to show, obviously, here is Sharon's page, and Sharon is, just let me know what your best contact details are as well, if people want to get in touch. And obviously you are a hypnotherapist, and maybe you're added to your avatar, so it'd be great if you wanted to
It's Swenson Hypnosis, so they can just go SwensonHypnosis.com, Swenson with a V.
Okay. As on the screen right now, you can see your Swenson Hypnosis. Fab. Good.
Thank you.
Gloria, there's another hypnotherapist in the house. Hey. How are you doing? Let me get you unmuted.
Oh. Right. Is that better?
Okay. I think we can hear you. Yes.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Well,
good.
Lovely to be here 2 years after the book first came out, and I'm so proud of it. And one thing that is, I think, a little bit paradoxical about what's going on is that suddenly we felt really isolated in one way, because we've been physically isolated in our homes, and we have been physically isolated from people that we want to hug, and for me it's been hard not being able to go home to Spain and see my family. But on the other hand, we are more connected than ever before. We have connected with people all over the place. I am now working with clients all over the place, in Belize, in Mexico, in the States, and it's been because suddenly we've become a lot more comfortable with using the technology that before I was not too keen on. But now we were lucky that this happened at the time when this technology is available, because it has made us to connect further afield and with people that are energetically also quite close to us. And this is one of the things that the book for me was a really welcome thing, because when you work as a therapist, like and some of us, you work on your own. You have your clients, but they're your clients, they're not your friends. and you have a different kind of relationship. You're with people, but you're not connected in the same way. You don't have colleagues. And the opportunity to have this book was the opportunity to connect with women that had perhaps similar stories or different stories, but we were working on our own. And then you realize actually there are many people that are similar to you, that so many things we share. There is so much of my philosophy of life and what I think about that is similar to Suzanne and to Sharon. We do similar work, and the views of Nadine, and you know, all those things. When you share, you feel you are in company of great people, and that was really uplifting. And also that I don't consider myself extraordinary. I'm a pretty ordinary kind of person. Ordinary people, we are the extraordinary people. The ordinary people are the ones that make the difference in the world. You don't need to be the top leader, the bestseller, or whatever. The day-to-day life is made by the day-to-day things that ordinary people do. And I think that came really across. And it was very empowering of thinking, actually, my story, which is the story of many other women, is not, you know, perhaps a fantastic story, but it's a story worth telling. And my struggles might be different to Sharon's struggles or to Nadine's, but also they're kind of struggles that other women have. And for me, being a woman of a certain age and from Spain, where women's education at that time, the culture with my family wasn't considered that important. You're going to get married, so why bother? You know, that was the thing. So for me, that push, no, I really want an education. I had to keep on fighting and keep on going and going to college in the evenings while I was doing a full day's work, even in the factory, 10-hour shift, and then going to college. So, but is that I'm never going to take no for an answer. If I want to do something, I'm going to do it. It might take me longer. And it's that the perseverance not to take no for an answer and to carry on going. And that's my story. But that's so many other women, some of them in the book, that didn't sort of sit back and say, well, that's my lot, I'm going to give up and accept it. You accept where you are as a springboard to where you want to go. I think acceptance is important. You have to accept where you are. And this is why I talk a lot with my clients. I deal mostly with clients with anxiety, because I do counseling as well as hypnotherapy and other types of therapy. But you have to accept where you are. And that's the baseline from where you're going to progress. So acceptance is not defeat. It's just a baseline. And that's how all my life, my philosophy is gather where I am. What have I got? What can I do with it? So I never had the idea of creating a career in psychology or as a therapist. My idea of a career when I was young was to get a better life than my mum and dad, because they work from 7 in the morning until 9 in the evening, 7 days a week. And I thought, hang on a minute, there's got to be something better than this. There's got to be an opportunity to have more joy and more family time, because our family life was all revolved around the shop where we lived. So that was and in Spain at that time particularly, if you have a job, you have a job. You have a job and you have a life. And you're not defined by your job the same as in this country. In the UK, first thing people ask you is, what do you do? And when I used to, you know, I've done all sorts of jobs, a huge amount of different things, but I used to work at the airport for a Spanish airline. As ground staff before my son was born. And when my son was born, he had significant issues and I had to give up work. And when people used to ask me in parties, and what do you do? Well, I look after the children. Oh, so you don't work then? And I used to be furious. My answer was always quite angry at sometimes. No, I don't get paid for the work I do. And but it was having my son and all the difficulties and not taking no for an answer, that I had to go and find the answers. And eventually I did a degree in psychology and I found all the reasons why he was having difficulties. He was profoundly deaf. He had dyslexia, dyspraxia, that he had on the autistic spectrum. And all of that almost was my lovely son, who is now 28, independent, traveling the world with his deaf mates, you know, it was a bit of do-it-yourself kit. You know, I had to put it myself together. But that's what gave me the energy to keep on going, and to now I help other people who are going through anxiety, because I understand all about the mind, and parents. Lately, I'm working with children with anxiety and helping the parents how to manage their anxiety and help them. So, but it was like this, no, I'm not going to take no for an answer. And that's my advice to everybody. Decide what it is that you want to do. You don't have to stick to it if you change your mind or you find something better, but keep going. Just keep going. You have value and you can offer value. And that's it, really.
Thank you so much, Gloria. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I think a lot of women actually are, taking a lot on, and it's about not getting into the just keep on going. And it's funny enough that you actually became a hypnotherapist or studied all the all the details about for your son, and now you're in this other career, which you probably would have never thought. So again, there's probably a reason behind why went into this direction as well, which is interesting. And I believe also probably in the last 12 months, the whole paradigm has been shifted, and people are now thinking, well, there's actually more than a 9 to 5. There's more out there. There's more to life. And I think even official surveys are saying that people actually want to leave their jobs or want to be more flexible, because now they realize actually it is possible. It's not necessary to go into an office necessarily. We can be more flexible, and people are starting to understand it. So we wish probably this would have happened many, many years ago, isn't it? When you had to say, I'm looking after my children. It would have been absolutely that's amazing. You are a hero. You're a hero, actually, because you are looking after your children. You're bringing up your child. So, Gloria, do you want to say where you're going to be found? Is mindinfocus.co.uk?
It's mindinfocus.co.uk. Yeah. So that's where I can be found. Thank you.
All right. Perfect. Okay. So should we move over to Susanne? Susanne, welcome. Nice to see you.
Hi. So lovely to be here. And honestly, when I saw the reminders coming up about it being 2 years, I thought, wow, really? So, of course, I have my book here as well. And I mean, it was the whole concept anyway was just so exciting at the time. And it's still exciting because the thought of another 50 coming, another 50 stories, we've had 25 and another 25. And Sharon, when you mentioned about, one of the people that saying she had the book by her bedside and she'd read a story a night and she'd feel so much better. I mean, I literally did that when I got my own book first, and I really noticed the difference because every story is so uplifting and also so varied. Each of us had our different adversities. And I mean, adversity is sort of the title of my story, but it's called Out of Adversity Comes Creativity and Beauty. And I think, well, look, we've got World Book Day. So, of course, we want to talk about our very special books and the joy afterwards, etc. And the idea that we are uplifting other women, entrepreneurs, but also the stay-at-home mums who are doing that very, very important job, which I also did, not going out to work, but I took my, at the time, I considered myself one of the lucky ones to be able to stay at home and do my rearing, so to speak, full time. And I saw that as a very full-time job. And experiences we were having at the time, it was enough. It was enough because life is all about experience, isn't it? We are human beings. So it's about, working through each new experience, each new life event, how we manage to do one circle until we start the next one and the next one. And some of them, they really feel like absolute vicious circles. And you think, did I really come back to this place again? But you forget that actually you did learn something along the way, because the next time it comes around, you think, hang on a second, I have a feeling I recognize a certain thing coming up. So this is how our resilience builds up, of course, doesn't it? So we begin to notice more things, and this very fashionable word, mindfulness, that we just used to call awareness, it's become the hot thing, but it's when you're cultivating it, it really helps you to move forward, and you can do that in lots of different ways. And Nadine, you spoke about self-help books as well, and finding inspiration. And Sharon, I loved your comment about finding the joy in things. Gratitude is one of the things that I absolutely talk about all of the time. I love teaching gratitude, even because it is something that helps people to find joys in those little things. Just thinking about, sinking your head into that really nice, soft, fluffy pillow, and knowing not everybody has that.
Yeah.
And the use of limbs, or senses and eyes and ears, etc. Just those basic things that we all take for granted, that we forget about. But my story, Out of Adversity Comes Creativity and Beauty, is about how over the years we store things in our subconscious mind. And of course, Gloria, being a hypnotherapist and having studied psychology, you talk about the subconscious mind all of the time as well, don't you, Gloria? And it's in this place of having stored those things that, of course, we don't realize how much is covered up. And in this story, it sort of shows that as I became more aware, as I became more mindful and learned things and did the self-help to get myself out of situations, I began to realize how much was literally buried underneath, and that I needed to find ways of letting those things go, how to bring them to the surface so that I could release them. And one of those things was art, as you all know. And it was nothing that was planned. It was just getting in connection with colors and shapes and things. And things like meditation help as well, of course. Lots of people do that too. You do that, don't you, Sharon? You do meditation as well. So acknowledging that with life's experiences, there will always be different phases, different cycles. And it's not about thinking that you've failed because you've come back to a certain point. It's how much have you grown in the process, and being able to get up again. And as you say, Gloria, never give up. And I loved that term that you used, acceptance is not defeat, because we only have that moment of now. And that's the only place that we can go from. So the book really inspired me to be able to look at other people's experiences and see what I could resonate with as well, what I could identify with, because these kinds of stories help us to actually see things in others that are perhaps in us too. And that helps us to release in different ways. So I think each book that you produced, Sabina, gives an element that almost takes us from one phase to another, because with the rising, and we've got the joy, and what's the third one called again?
Shift.
Yes, exactly. So we really are going from one stepping stone to another. So, I mean, I would certainly encourage, everybody to get each book to notice each shift that we've gone through. So I think that's about all I'm going to say today.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much, Susanna. And you're right. I liked when you said about the cycle. It's like you think you're actually, oh no, there we go. I'm at the same place. I haven't moved forward, and you think you failed. And you're right. You can never really go backwards. You always have collected some more experiences. You are always going to be a different person as to where you were just a few days ago or a few months ago. So never forget that you are always evolving. And you're right, Susanne, it's probably a bit of a fluke that the books are actually kind of staggered in a way that it's about Rise. It's about the first time that I've actually authored any book. Actually, as I said, my husband back then thought I was crazy when I woke up this morning and I saw the books in front of my eyes. And there I told him over breakfast, and he's like, you're crazy, you know. And I went off to do a crazy job and a crazy journey, which has actually gotten me some more crazy results. And into different directions I would have never thought would be, even unlocked a different business altogether, and working with some of you ladies as well in collaboration and continue the friendship and the networking. It's been beautiful. So I probably would have not been here. So sometimes you just have to follow your nudges and just go and do things, regardless whether someone else thinks, you know, it's crazy or not. So that's my little nugget here. So thank you. Appreciate it. Good. Yes. Naomi, last but not least, Naomi always brings a smile on my face, because we also feature not only Naomi's story, but we also support her amazing charity, Mending 1,000 Hearts. And I'm sure you can just mention this as well. It's at the back of the book, and people can actually donate and support her amazing cause as well. So welcome, Naomi. I have to unmute you. Okay. Oh, by the way, Susanne, just tell people where they can find you as well before we unmute Naomi.
Oh, yes. My business is called Energize Me, and I've got a new website which is called energizemecoaching.com. So it's energized with a Z or a Z for those who pronounce the letter in that way. So energizemecoaching.com. That's where you can find me.
Brilliant. Thank you. Naomi, welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm a grandma on a mission to save 1,000 hearts. You see, small steps taken consistently over time will get you massive results. So my story, the freezing weather as it was in Washington, D.C., record-breaking snow, unbelievable, also happened in Texas. I'm an adventure mountain climber, and that's the kind of climate that I climb to. And I was shivering in my parka because I knew that I could not climb to the summit of this 20,000-foot mountain. It was impossible with the weather. And I was standing in the faint glow of the sun, and my mom's face appeared in the sky above me. I was so shook. I had planned to make her a snow angel, and there she was. And as I'm looking, suddenly surrounding her, there's hundreds of faces of other women that are up there with her. I was so startled. You see, my heroic mom died 5 years ago. She didn't die from COVID, but I wanted to get closer to heaven so I could just be as close as possible to just even have a cup of tea with her. Hundreds and thousands of seniors have died during COVID. Previously, the family hero, many are recovering, but they're isolated and they're depressed. They feel stuck. They're uncomfortable. They're even afraid to go off their property. And worst of all, nobody's listening to their lonely cries. Most have a fear of infecting another person, their grandchildren, and their senior, anyone, and they're afraid of dying alone. During COVID, I had to switch. I had to shift. And my name is Naomi Carmona Morshead. I'm the creator of Positive Living Inspiration Facebook page. This is what I know to be true. Seniors who are isolated without physical contact, with nobody listening to them, they deserve a positive online community for self-expression. So I created, for people like me, because I'm a senior, I'm 66, I created the Wisdom Connection. And you can create something in your community too, where you can reach out and touch those who are untouchable or think they are. You see, as I sat in that snowfield with frozen tears on my cheeks and saw those women, they were saying something to me. They were sending me a message. They said, share now. play bigger. That's what I'm doing. I want to reach out and encourage you to be a part of the Wisdom Connection, whether it's online with me or in your own community. You're probably wondering, how can I connect to a senior? I have all these things to do. Just living takes so much energy, even going to the store, the mask, everything we have to do and not do. And no, you can. I encourage you to be a hero to those in your community. Be a hero that listens and comforts. Be a hero that impacts seniors' lives that are so afraid of being left alone. Be a hero that blasts through the loneliness. A phone call, some flowers on their doorstep. Walk their dog for them. It's all very, very simple. Be a Wisdom Connection hero. You see, in our book, Rise in Pursuit of Empowerment, this is our opportunity to rise. This is our opportunity to be filled with joy. And this is our opportunity to shift. Nadine talked about keeping inspired. That's what these books do. They keep you inspired. Sharon talked about a health condition in her husband's body. My husband's body decided to get some cancer cells. And he says, I don't have cancer, my prostate does. You see, we can inspire each other through our living examples. Suzanne talked about gratitude. Oh, that's my word for 2021, gratitude. I'm so thankful that I wake up to breathe every day. I'm thankful that I know the sun is shining somewhere in the world, even if it's not in my backyard. Now, I'm way on the west coast of the United States, and you see we have authors from all over the world. In fact, in this book, there are 7 different countries represented, women who's risen above something and be made something out of their life, and so can you. Gloria talked about resilience. Oh my goodness, don't we need that today? But resilience with a smile. You see, what Sabine has done is brought all of us together to encourage and connect. And on Positive Living Inspiration Facebook page, that's what we do. We talk about positive quotes. I do silly stories. I do tips for seniors that will make you laugh out loud, because health and humor together will increase our ability to fight off any kind of disease. I have a testimonial also. My book was given to the man who I bought a car. So my husband turned 70 and I bought him a car, and the man, I gave him the book and he took it home, and his wife said, well, who's in the book? He says, Naomi. So he opens the book, or leaves the book there on the counter, and she read it. And she called him and she goes, I'm just full of tears. He said, why? I read Naomi's story. I'm so inspired. I want to go do something to help mend children's hearts. You see, we don't know which sentence or which book or which chapter the right person reads at the right time, but we know we were called to tell our story so that you too can take your story and build it up into understanding that you're full of joy. You're here for a reason. Otherwise, you'd be up in heaven with my mom. And you get to choose every day how to live from within. Be inspired, be a hero. Go find a senior to love today.
Wow, Naomi, you are a born storyteller. Thank you so much you could have not summarized it much better. Amazing. I think I'm just going to close with a quote from my book. And Naomi, I think you already said your Facebook page, what it was, or do you have a website as well, which you just wanted to mention before we move on?
thebraveheartshift.com. But I think that Positive Living Inspiration Facebook page is more powerful for today and how we're living. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Fab. So I just want to read a little bit the last sentence basically from my story, because I think it's really very, very topical. And when we come together and when we share, then we can actually make the world just a little bit better. I know we can't, I don't think we can stop big things, wars and the pandemic, but we can just affect our neighbor positively. And I think we've heard this in many, many different ways. And of course, it starts from ourselves. So what I say here is I believe helping those that are less fortunate to become empowered to create sustainable and balanced lives for themselves is the greater part of my legacy and will live on even when I'm no more. And this is what it is. A book is a legacy. It will stay there, hopefully forever. People will be able to find it or go to a library and just dig it up. And or maybe it will be, once we will have grandchildren, they'll say, well, actually, this is my grandmother's book, and or she got it as a gift from someone, and it's such a beautiful thing, because you don't have to read the book from start to finish, like you just said, Naomi. Your friend, just gets inspired by opening it up or having it on your bedside table, and just read one story at a time and just get inspired for the moment. That was always my inspiration, just to have really short chapters so that you could just have it in your handbag. And even if you're traveling somewhere and or your bus stop, maybe you have 5 minutes, you just want to have a quick inspiration, and you just read one story. So last but not least, you can grab a book here, riseenjoy.gra.com. You can get all the bonuses as well, and you can meet all the authors. And I would love to thank all of the amazing ladies here tonight. And I'm just going to leave with my quote, which is in the book. When you release your magic, you light up the path for others. And if you want to connect with me, I'm on reachforgreatness.co.uk. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.